How's it going, guys? It's your boy John. Today I'm just finishing up this book that I bought a couple of weeks back. It's by Burmese historian Damianu, and it's basically about the hidden history of Burma, like things that are not easily accessible on the internet. And I'm just reading the last few paragraphs from this book, the epilogue, and I thought I would just, record it. It's only about 3 pages, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. So it's on the topic of nationalism and racial identity and moving forward. Basically, his take on how to resolve the issues of national identity, like Burmese and other ethnic groups, and all that. So I'm down to the last few pages, and I thought I would just record it. So, it's easy to see identity as the driving story today, in Burma as everywhere, and it's tempting to view the past few years as a democracy experiment gone awry because of a resurgence of ethno-nationalism. But that would be to overlook an even bigger story, one more hidden, which is the story of Burmese capitalism. It's been the missing element in the thinking of nearly all observers, though not ordinary people, who are prospering or becoming impoverished, living and dying as a result of markets that are bound by few restraints. In the late 1980s, left-wing ideologies collapsed, and there was a move toward capitalism under the harshest of dictatorships. Without debate, cronyism and racketeering thrived, and in the shadow of rotting stare, institutions grew powerful networks, focused entirely on money-making. At the apex are men and women who collude and conspire across every racial and religious divide. After 2011, the assumption was that the economy needed only reform in the direction of a cleaner, greener capitalism, more integrated with global markets. There was an unstated ambition to transition from the anarchic, plundering capitalism of a dictatorship toward a fast industrializing state capitalism, one powered by global investment. And today, neoliberalism, a faith in free markets, and a disdain from state-led development is held out as the only alternative to the corrupt and crony-driven capitalism of the past. There's much talk of Burma's democracy transition, but next to no discussion around its transition from one strain of capitalism to another. Democracy can mean many things, but in Burma, it has meant primarily a form of competitive politics, organized around political parties and regular elections. It has been an elite-level substitute for the junta over a state that is scarcely functioning, and that doesn't even control significant patches of the country. And democratic change so far has, at the very least, been insufficient. At worst, it has legitimized inequalities and unleashed a maelstrom of identity-based conflicts for which society was ill-prepared. The sequencing has been misjudged. It's hard to imagine any meaningful progress toward democracy with existing levels of inequality, to a far greater extent that even 20 years ago, the rich and poor in Burma today live entirely different lives. The focus should have been on racial measures to fight discrimination, enabling a robust and free market, free media, building new and inclusive state institutions, including for taxation, policing, and justice, and creating a welfare state on which all citizens could depend. Instead, the focus has been on injecting a new layer of partisan competition on an already fractious landscape. The result has been a coarsening of public debate and a polarized political class. At a time when democracy and markets are increasingly seen in the West as unable to cope with issues of inequality, identity, and climate change, they have become Burma's only prescription for the future. 20th century solutions are being offered as the default answers to the country's 21st century challenges. The critical questions are not discussed. Burma will before long bear the brunt of rising sea levels, unbearable hot summers, and more frequent extreme weather, including cyclones like Nargis. China and India's gargantuan economies next door may be friends or foes. With automation and a changing pattern of global consumption, the world may soon have no need for Burma's cheap labor or even its natural resources. The ladder of export-oriented growth so successfully climbed by other Asian countries may soon be a ladder to nowhere. So, what economic future is possible? What economy can overtake the pull of methamphetamine production and other illicit industries, withstand climate change, and make possible free and dignified lives for tens of millions of people? As importantly, if given a real choice, what kind of life would Burmese people want to live? The lives of other Asian consumers, or something different? In the meantime, the plight of the poor in Burma continues to be ignored with impunity. Western sanctions, which included aid cutoffs, destroy the lives of millions, but on this, there has been no quest for accountability. Sanctions during the 1990s and 2000s did nothing to compel the generals in a liberal direction, and if anything, have made any transition to a better future more difficult. Yet they may be returning. Over 2019, the European Union will likely decide whether or not to revoke trade privileges, a move that would collapse the garment industry and throw more than 500,000 otherwise destitute young women out of work. Since colonial times, whatever has happened in Burma, the ordinary people have consistently wound up the losers. The warning signs are flashing. The two most combustible elements on the Burmese political landscape remain race and inequality. They are now being mixed together with immature democratic institutions, a blind faith in free markets, multi-billion-dollar illicit industries, and uplands awash in weapons. We risk a failed state in the heart of Asia. Burma is running out of time. The country needs a radical agenda to fight inequality and prepare for the climate emergency to come. It needs as well a new story that embraces its diversity, celebrates its natural environment, and aspires to a new way of life. Perhaps most of all, Burma needs a new project of the imagination. And followed by acknowledgements. This book is really important, not just because it tells stories of how the previous administration made the whole democratic transition possible. Not only possible, but put it on a whole new level. And I've been asked by many Westerners on how and why the previous military government decided to hand over power, out of nowhere. And this book sort of like dove deep into the subject, and like a group of people, ministers and ex-military generals that were responsible for making it happen. Namely, the ex-president Thein Sein and his cabinet, basically. That's what really elevated the entire political landscape to more democratic one, and paved the way for NLD and Aung San Suu Kyi. And which is why I'm writing, or I'm planning to, actually I'm halfway of writing this article on why people shouldn't vote for Aung San Suu Kyi blindly. So the title that I put out might be a bit of a clickbait, but what I'm trying to say is just like a lot of people tend to want to vote for Aung San Suu Kyi just because of her name and the history behind the party, and not primarily because of the policy that the party represents. So yeah, finished this book this morning, and it's really incredible. I learned so much from reading this. You can say that this historian is a bit biased or what have you, because he was actually an advisor to the previous administration. So, you know, in a way, he could be, you know, projecting something that's a little bit more than what actually happened. I don't know, but he's a very educated person and super clever, well spoken. My only gripe is that he loves using the word Burma instead of Myanmar, and he provided like proper explanation on why he prefers that word. So that's his preference. I'm not gonna, you know, I can't really do anything about it. So yeah, just thought I would do a little bit of reading, because it's been a couple of I noticed a couple of weeks at least that I haven't posted any videos, and I thought, you know what, since I'm already reading and it's the last couple of pages, and I thought I would just go ahead and do it anyway. I'll record myself. Tell me if you guys enjoy this. Let me know. At this point, I kind of don't really expect people to watch my videos, because the upload is just so inconsistent, and whatever that I'm doing is also headed in many directions, I feel. So if you happen to watch it, let me know, and I don't know, leave a comment, leave a like or something like that. I don't know. Alright, peace out. Thanks for watching.